The correct answer is shoot to maim. Any who say they are not willing to shoot an inmate are not hired. Any new employees, even those who aren't guards, undergo a week of familiarization of the hot house, during which they are taught how to search a cell, frisk an inmate, identify contraband, and avoid being conned by inmates. Bob Lawrence also gives newcomers this advice: scrape the mud and cow manure off your boots before coming to work. Otherwise, inmates will snicker and say to themselves, hell, he can't even dress right and he's going to tell me what to do. All employees are sent for 3 additional weeks of training at the Bureau's Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, where they are taught self-defense, Bureau regulations and policies, and how to fire various weapons. Penitentiaries are the most expensive form of confinement because they must be manned by guards around the clock. In fiscal 1987, the hot house had a budget of $17 million, of which $12 million went for salaries. It cost $35.62 per day to keep an inmate in Leavenworth. In 1989, that figure had risen to $39.72 per day in comparison to $28.32 to house a prisoner in a less secure level 1 camp. The $11.40 difference is due to having fewer guards. When convicts arrive at the hot house, they receive a 22-page book that lists the rules and what punishments they can expect for violating them. After a short processing period, they are assigned cells. The majority are put in 2-man cells. Only about 30% of the men in the hot house live in a single-man cell. The Bureau is supposed to assign these much desired cells based on inmate seniority. The longer a prisoner stays at Leavenworth and keeps out of trouble, the better his chances of living alone. At least that's how the system is supposed to work. In reality, the least deserving inmates are often assigned to single-man cells simply because prison officials know that their violence is a real threat to a cellmate. Regardless of how many occupants there are in a cell, each has identical furnishings: a single bed or 2-man bunk, a lidless steel toilet, a mail counter for use as a desk, and an attached swing-out stool, a locker with a combination lock, a metal sink, a single light bulb, and a mirror. The mirrors are sheets of polished steel bolted onto the wall. Most convicts I soon learn try to avoid trouble and simply do their time as easily as possible. But about 20% of the inmates operate inside the prison much the same as they did on the streets. They deal drugs, extort money, bankroll card and dice games, pimp and run scams on other inmates. These inmates are known as predators. Their victims are called lops. The line between the two groups shifts daily. There are no nice guys in Leavenworth, explained Craig H. Trout, the Bureau's gang expert. They are all sharks, and when you put sharks together, the stronger one feeds on the rest. The 487 employees at the hot house are broken into groups too. Guards who needlessly harass inmates are called super cops. Those who simply do their jobs are hacks. Besides the 239-man guard force, there are 248 other staff members. These include 19 hospital workers, 35 maintenance men, 3 psychologists, 2 ministers, and 70 supervisors at the prison's Unicorp operations. The remaining 119 employees are secretaries, food stewards who oversee inmate cooks, teachers, counselors, and administrators. Many of these employees earn higher salaries than the guards, whose entry-level annual starting pay is $16,851. But few have as much clout. It is the guards who control all movement inside the prison. They issue commands, make arrests, and keep order. As far as the guards are concerned, all other employees are weak sisters, especially those whose jobs require them to help inmates. Unlike Hollywood scripts in which guards and convicts share mutual respect and at times even become friends, in the real world of the hot house, the hostility between convicts and guards is palpable and enduring. It permeates every aspect of prison life, even the jargon. Guards get angry when anyone calls them that. They are correctional officers. For their part, they never refer to prisoners by any word except inmate. This is an insult to the prisoners who claim the word is better suited to a patient in a mental ward than it is to them. Using the proper title is a matter of unbelievable significance inside the hothouse. When you are a prisoner and are stripped of all your possessions, the term you are called becomes important. The same holds true for officers. Without weapons, the only authority that a guard has comes from respect and fear. Titles play a role in establishing both. In this book, all these terms are used interchangeably. Getting the language straight was not the only problem I encountered. The dual society inside a prison is not used to outside observers. For instance, I did not feel comfortable carrying a portable emergency alarm or a two-way radio like those carried by employees because I felt inmates would view me as a staff member and think that I was afraid of them. I often was. So I walked around the hothouse unprotected. For the first time I went into the penitentiary yard, I found myself in the midst of several hundred convicts. I wondered if I had made a mistake. The Bureau had warned me about two inmates, Bruce Carroll Pierce and the second in command of the order, a neo-Nazi paramilitary group that had murdered Denver talk show host Alan Berg, was considered a potential threat to me because I had worked at the Washington Post and, while not Jewish, was seen as a member of the liberal Eastern Establishment Press. Already serving a 250-year sentence, Pierce had little to lose by killing me, Bureau officials said. Convicted spy Jerry Whitworth was considered dangerous because he was disgruntled about what I had written about him in my book, Family Spies, Inside the John Walker Spy Ring. But I never spoke to Pierce, and Whitworth never did anything but complain to me. Nor did I ask the Bureau to take any special precautions on my behalf. In fact, I asked for the reverse because I felt convicts at the hothouse would misrepresent such protection and be reluctant to speak frankly. When I first arrived, only a few convicts spoke to me. Some wanted to be mentioned in my book because it made them feel important. A few hoped that I would use my access to Quinlan to help them. I discovered that these inmates were of little help. They simply told me that what they thought I wanted to hear. As the weeks passed, however, I was able to identify inmates and guards who played strong roles within the prison society. I began to focus on 6 inmates: Carl Bowles, William Post, Dallas Scott, Norman Becklew, Thomas Little, and Thomas Silverstein. Only Norman Bucklew is a pseudonym. I chose these men because their lives, values, and attitudes were representative, I felt, of other convicts I met. At first, I spoke to them without a tape recorder or notepad and pencil. They were suspicious of me, and these tools would have made them even more so. Why had the Bureau let me inside? Obviously, the fact that it had given me access made them suspect me. In the beginning, I did not ask many questions. I simply listened. Some inmates tested me. They would commit a minor rule infraction, such as smuggling a sandwich back to their cell from the prison mess hall, knowing that I had seen them tuck it into their trousers. They wanted to see if I would snitch on them. I never did. After weeks of watching me, one by one, these men began to open up. I found them to be amazingly frank, naively so at times. I am certain that some decided to speak to me out of boredom. Monotony is every man's curse, and being able to speak to a writer broke the routine. But as I got to know these 6 men, I became convinced that for 5 of them there was a deeper motivation.